Let's imagine a specific scenario. Lewis Hamilton, seven-time world champion and the most successful driver in history alongside Michael Schumacher, arrives at Ferrari in 2025, surrounded by all the expectation and grandeur that a change of this magnitude naturally generates. The entire planet paused its activities to witness this partnership between the most prominent competitor of the modern era and the most historic team in Formula One. However, after 12 races, something is not working properly. And at a time when even former drivers are beginning to express harsh opinions, it is time to ask ourselves, are we witnessing one of the biggest disappointments in recent Formula One history? David Coulthard, former Scottish competitor and one of the most respected voices in motorsport, has decided not to remain silent. In a recent statement, he was categorical in his words. "It has been embarrassing to watch Lewis at Ferrari." Embarrassing. That expression resonates in a way that no Hamilton fan would want to hear, especially coming from someone who understands the inner workings of the sport, like few others. When Lewis Hamilton announced his departure from Mercedes to Ferrari, the world of Formula One literally came to a standstill. It was the change of the century, the ideal combination of history and perfection. Hamilton arrived as a seven-time world champion at the age of 40, with the desire to win his 8th world championship with the dream team of any competitor. The expectation was monumental. The union seemed ideal in theory. However, the reality has proven to be quite different from the predictions. 12 Grand Prix races have already been held in 2025, and Hamilton has yet to reach the podium in a main race wearing Ferrari colors. That's right, no podium finishes in Sunday races. Meanwhile, his teammate Charles Leclerc has already racked up 4 podium finishes and has a 16-point lead over the seven-time champion. For those accustomed to seeing Hamilton constantly competing for victories, this statistic seems almost unreal. It is true that Hamilton has had some satisfaction in sprint races. An unexpected pole position in China turned into victory in the short race, and another podium finish came in Miami. But sprint races are just appetizers, not the main course. And when we talk about a driver of Hamilton's caliber, we expect him to be competing for the top positions on Sundays when the really important points are awarded. The most disappointing episode was possibly Silverstone, where for much of the weekend Hamilton showed competitive pace, coming close to the McLarens of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. The British fans were already dreaming of a historic podium finish. But Sunday's rush completely destroyed Ferrari's chances, and another opportunity was lost. But here comes the question that no one wants to ask openly. Is the car really the problem? Or are we seeing the first signs of decline from one of the greatest of all time? At 40, Hamilton is no longer the young prodigy who arrived at McLaren in 2007. Time spares no one, not even the greatest champions. David Coulthard, who is not known for exaggerated statements, chose his words carefully, but the message was clear. According to the Scot, up until Silverstone, excluding China, it has been embarrassing to watch Hamilton in the Ferrari because he simply didn't look as fast as Charles Leclerc. That's a devastating statement coming from someone who knows what it means to compete in Formula One at the highest level. The most curious thing is that Coulthard acknowledges that Hamilton's Ferrari at Silverstone looked more competitive, but he himself questions whether this was merely a reflection of the support of the home crowd or whether it truly represents a change in level. How many times have we seen drivers excel at home, only to return to their previous level in the next race? Charles Leclerc, meanwhile, is demonstrating why he is considered one of the greatest talents of the current generation. At 27, at the peak of his career, he knows Ferrari like no one else. He has years of experience with the car, the team, and the engineers. Hamilton arrived as an outsider, trying to adapt to a completely different culture. And here, we come to the crucial point. Is the 2025 Ferrari truly a competitive car? Or is Leclerc getting more out of the car than it can offer, while Hamilton is still trying to find the limits of the machine? Leclerc's 4 podiums suggest that the potential is there. But Hamilton's total absence from the Sunday podiums indicates that something fundamental is not working. The psychological pressure cannot be overlooked either. Hamilton arrived at Ferrari carrying the weight of being the driver who would finally bring the driver's title back to Maranello after years of frustration. The Italian fans have placed hopes in him that go far beyond mere sporting results. It is almost a matter of national pride. And when a driver feels that weight on his shoulders, especially at the age of 40, performance can be affected considerably. Perhaps the most worrying aspect is the fact that Hamilton has been getting closer to Leclerc's setup in recent races. This suggests that he is trying to imitate what the Monegasque driver does rather than imposing his own style. A Hamilton at the peak of his career would never do that. Seeing the 7-time champion following in the footsteps of another driver is, to say the least, unsettling. The brutal reality is that Hamilton is being consistently outperformed by a teammate 10 years his junior in a Ferrari that clearly has podium potential. This raises fundamental questions about the future of the Englishman's career. Will he be able to adapt completely to the car? Does he still have enough speed to compete at the highest level? The most ironic thing about this whole situation is that the 2025 Ferrari is not an inadequate car. Leclerc's results prove that. But a car that works perfectly for one driver can be a torment for another. And maybe that's exactly what's happening. Hamilton may be driving a machine that simply doesn't suit his style. The question now is whether Hamilton has the time and patience to go through this painful adjustment. At 40, every race lost is an opportunity that will never return. And with drivers like Max Verstappen at Red Bull and Lando Norris at McLaren in great form, the window of opportunity for Hamilton to win his 8th world title is closing fast. What makes it even more dramatic is the fact that Hamilton has always been a driver who thrives under pressure. The bigger the challenge, the better he used to respond. But now, for the first time in a long time, he seems to be succumbing to the pressure rather than using it as motivation. And when a world champion starts showing signs of vulnerability, the decline can be much faster than anyone imagines. David Coulthard's statement was not an unnecessary attack. It was the sincere observation of a former driver who recognizes talent when he sees it and who is genuinely concerned about what he has been observing. When someone of Coulthard's caliber says he is embarrassed to witness a 7-time world champion, it is because the situation has truly reached a critical point. Perhaps the most melancholic aspect of all this is the fact that Hamilton always dreamed of racing for Ferrari. It was the career goal he had yet to achieve. And now that he is finally there, things are not going according to plan. It is almost like watching a movie where the protagonist finally gets everything he ever wanted, but discovers that reality is nothing like the dream. Time will tell if Hamilton can turn this situation around and find the speed that made him one of the greatest of all time. But one thing is certain. Watching Lewis Hamilton struggle to find his place at Ferrari has been, as Coulthard said, genuinely embarrassing. And that, coming from a 7-time world champion, is perhaps the most brutal realization of all. What do you think? Does Hamilton still have time to fully adapt to Ferrari and get back to competing for victories? Leave your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any analysis of the hottest behind-the-scenes action in the category.